back to the Smart Girl Politics podcast. I am Terry Christoph, your host today. Happy to be joined by Kerry Picket of the Washington Examiner. Kerry, how are you?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me, Terry.
Yes, you have a little Nats hangover. Did you watch the Nats game last night?
I watched a good portion of it before I fell asleep, unfortunately.
Yeah, it went late.
It went a little late and a little past my bedtime, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But I, of course, did watch the highlights in the morning.
Yes. So we're all very happy here. I'm in the D.C. area as well, so we're all quite happy with our Nats. Now, the reason I wanted to talk to you is I follow you on Facebook, so I saw you posting something yesterday, a piece that you wrote over at the Washington Examiner about Congresswoman Katie Hill, who has quite a little... I don't want to even call it a scandal because it hasn't reached that point yet because it's not getting a lot of attention, but she has been involved in some kind of lurid, salacious story that's not getting a lot of coverage. So I thought maybe we could dive a little bit into it because a lot of people probably have not heard about this story because it has really only been covered in the more right-leaning outlets of late. So maybe we could do a little background. She is a freshman congresswoman from California and a Democrat. So that's how I'll set it up.
Yeah. Look, exactly. First off, I'm going to have to disagree with you. It has reached scandal proportions, simply because there are some, or there was some illicit photo of her out there on the internet that did get released over the weekend. So it does involve that, and we'll get into that in a moment. But Congresswoman Katie Hill, she's a Democrat from California. Just yesterday, she has already denied allegations that she had a improper relationship with a congressional staffer. Okay, and she's accusing GOP operatives and her husband that she is in the middle of a divorce of, quote, a smear campaign. Okay, now why is this? Because basically, what you have is she apparently was allegedly involved with a congressional staffer, which he said did not happen, as well as a campaign staffer back in 2017 who was a female. Now, she's openly bisexual. Okay? So that is, totally out there already. But what completely violates ethics here, as far as the House Ethics Code, is to be involved with a subordinate who is your congressional staffer. So she immediately came out and said, no, this is completely not happening. This is wrong, and I'm being smeared, and I am not involved with my congressional male staffer, who was her legislative director. Okay. That guy's name is Graham.
There's a lot of pieces to this story.
Exactly. And she is blaming her husband for putting this information out. And there is also her campaign staffer, okay, who is a female. And apparently what we see here is this photo of Katie Hill, who is naked and brushing this campaign staffer's hair. Okay. Now, some people are saying things like, well, it's because it's not explicit in the rules of the House that a campaign staffer can, being involved with a campaign staffer can get you in trouble. No, actually, that's not true necessarily. Just because it's not explicit in the rules doesn't mean that you can't get in trouble. In fact, the House Ethics Committee in the past has dealt with members of Congress who have gotten into relationships or gotten into situations with campaign staffers, and they have dealt with that. So she could get into trouble just with being involved, allegedly, with her campaign staffer. So while she has denied a relationship with her congressional staffer, Graham Kelly, she's saying that never happened. She has not addressed the alleged situation with this campaign staffer who who she is apparently seen with in this photo.
Okay. Who's a young woman, just like straight out of college. So someone who's just a subordinate and not much, but a little bit younger than the Congresswoman.
Yeah. Well, this girl looks like she's in her 20s. Now, I want to point out here, okay, and the Washington Post makes it very clear, quote, "The House Code of Conduct does not explicitly apply to relationships between members and campaign staffers. The Ethics Committee has previously investigated such claims and determined it has jurisdiction over, quote, misconduct relating to a successful campaign for election to the House."
Interesting. So she's got a couple things now against her.
Yes. However, the individual who ended up releasing that naked photo of her, did it in the state of California. Now, California has that revenge porn law.
Yep.
And that individual could get into some deep trouble for releasing that photo. So that is another situation going on as well.
Wow, there's a many-tentacled story here.
Yeah.
So basically what the stories that I've been reading have been that Katie Hill was involved in a throuple with her husband. She's married, and then they brought this campaign staffer, the young woman who's in the picture, into their relationship. So there's a throuple thing happening over here on the West Coast, and on the East Coast there's the staffer, in her congressional office out here. So is that basically the extent of the relationships? Is there anything else?
Yeah, the alleged relationship.
Alleged, correct.
Alleged, yeah. And of course, Katie Hill has denied any relationship happening with the legislative director, saying nothing inappropriate has happened. She has not addressed the campaign staffer situation. She's calling this a political smear. And keep in mind now, her primary opponents have like a number of them have definitely used this as an opportunity to say, if this is all true, she should resign. At least one of them has said that. That is Angela Underwood Jacobs. She's one of the Republicans in the primary. Now, mind you, of course, California, as you very well know, it is a jungle primary, so of course it includes both Republicans and Democrats, and whatever party wants to jump into the race, and then they eventually have a runoff. But her opponents are already seizing on this, and she is in a district that is a swing district, even though she ended up beating the longtime Republican incumbent Steve Knight by around 9 points. Still, Republicans are looking at this district to flip in the 2020 election.
Do you think it's dangerous to use this kind of thing against her? I mean, I know they're going to, but is there any danger to Republicans? Is there any hints of hypocrisy or anything calling somebody out? Or is it going to be a war on women? I mean, where do the Republicans take this to use to their advantage? Well,
one way to look at it is they can say, look, you don't put yourself into a situation where you can be blackmailed. Mind you, she's thought of as a rising star in the Democrat Party. She was on the House Oversight Committee, Armed Services Committee. And when you get yourself allegedly into a situation like this, you can put yourself up to a blackmail. So this is a situation that she can possibly put herself into if it's true. And also Republicans can end up saying, hey, look, this is a intra-party battle that could be going on, so we'll just let the Democrats maybe just get rid of her on their own and just stay out of it until maybe we need to step in. So this is how the parties sometimes deal with it, because the Democrats may look at it as, you know what, we can win this race on our own. We may not even need her because we have enough time to maybe find another Democrat within the party to win that seat anyway. So we can probably just shove her out of the way if she becomes a problem for us. So that could be another option as well if this becomes a problem for them. So this is a wait and see.
To your knowledge, are the Democrats dealing with this? It doesn't seem like there's a lot of commenting from the Nancy Pelosi's of the world. Is there anything going on within the party to deal with it, to address it, to say anything to the media, to say anything to Katie Hill herself? Like, what's going on with the Democrats on this?
Funny you should mention that. My colleague Susan Ferricchio, when she first reached out to the Democrats, there was absolutely no comment at all. There were some Democrats who were almost offended from what she was hearing, that like anyone was even asking about it. Like, oh, how dare you even ask about something so tawdry? And then as more coverage was coming out about it, because at first it was just Red State, then it was the Washington Examiner, and then all of a sudden more outlets began covering it. Then it was like it went from being offended that you even asked to, oh gosh, you are asking me and I still can't comment, but I'm very scared that you're asking me. So it's still no comment, but now they're getting scared.
Interesting. Good to know. So from your vantage point, I saw a lot of conservatives on Twitter the last day or so since the story really started to pick up steam in the conservative side of the journalism world. They were very upset that this was a story that was either being buried, not getting covered by mainstream media. And I do subscribe to a lot of newsletters that do daily roundups, and it's just nowhere. I mean, it's all impeachment right now. There's none of this, like, what's going on with the other side? Let's take a look at that. Are you seeing some evidence in the journalism world from your vantage point that it is maybe going more mainstream with the story, or is this going to be something that they just tamp down?
One of the problems with a story like this, even with the Republican Party, when they see the Democrats dealing with something like this, is there's sort of this weird détente. Because back in the 90s, when there was like sort of like it was known as the Gingrich Wars, when everyone started accusing everyone of having like an extramarital affair, because it was all a thing with the whole Clinton stuff that was going on. So it was like, you're having an affair, you're having an affair, you're having an affair. Next thing you know, like you had people, you had the whole Bob Livingston stuff going on, and it was like everyone was scared that if you went around accusing people of like having extramarital affairs or doing kinky stuff, then your background was also going to be Oppo researched, and people are going to find out what was going on in your little closet. So all of a sudden, like the Republicans and Democrats were like, okay, you know what? Stop it. And so even if you go up to Republicans and say, what do you think about this Katie Hill stuff? That. I mean, they're like, oh, we're not going to talk about it.
Right.
We're not going to go into that Oppo research, extramarital affair war. No, thank you. So it's sort of like, the Republicans and Democrats don't like to talk about that type of thing, even about one another, just because of what went on in the 90s. That being said, though, what is being sort of murmured about is not so much about what's going on between the parties, but the difference between how men and women are treated. People aren't talking about this publicly, but one of the things that they're being people are sort of complaining about is the fact that men on Capitol Hill, when they're caught in sort of a sex scandal up here, they're treated very differently than how Katie Hill's being treated. When we're in this sort of phase of allegations, just allegations. Because the man, all of a sudden it's like, oh, allegations. Oh, my God, yeah. It's just like, it's not as if, once we're in this phase, it's like, it's, dude's got to go. But now here we have a female, openly bisexual, and it's like she's being treated a little bit more with kid gloves, very differently. Kind of like what we see we have like female teachers who end up preying on, say, a 13-year-old.
Right.
Very differently than what we see with like a male teacher who's like preying on a 13-year-old girl. Society looks at it very differently.
Quick to condemn usually the man and not so much. And she's got the double whammy. She's a woman and she's bisexual. So she's got, she'll have a lot of defenders out there. Where do you see the story going from here? Is it going to go away, or is it going to escalate, or is it a wait and see?
I think not going away, but more of a wait and see, because we still have to hear from the husband, because she is accusing her husband of abuse. But still, Red State just came out with some more bombshell text today. Well, actually last night, because apparently, according to the campaign staffer, it was a toxic relationship amongst the three of them, the throuple.
Ugh.
So, this isn't going away. So while she's accusing the husband of having an abusive relationship, the campaign staffer doesn't say great things about either one of them. Okay.
You can't make it up, right? Like, this is like truth is being, the real life is being more exciting than anything that we could write. But I encourage everybody to go over to Washington Examiner, read your story. I know you have colleagues covering it too. There's really good coverage over there. And thank you, Kerry Picket. Is there anywhere else people can find you if they want to follow your work?
Sure. Go check out my Twitter feed. It's Kerry Picket. That's KerryPicket. That is one T, just like the fence.
Gotcha. So go check it out. She does great work on the stories that we might not be seeing in other outlets. So I think that's important work that you're doing there. So thank you, Kerry. Appreciate your time, and have a great day.